So with Ironheart coming to the MCU and Black Panther Wakanda Forever, here's a little refresher on everything you need to know about Riri Williams and how she could connect to the larger Marvel Cinematic Universe. So the character was created in 2016 by Brian Michael Bendis, the same guy who created Miles Morales, Jessica Jones, and Goldballs. Her name comes from her father's nickname, Riri, which is short for Demetrius. She was born shortly after her father died and grew up in Chicago with her mom, stepfather, and her sister Sharon. She was declared a genius when she was only 5 years old after being checked out for behavior problems and started making inventions for superheroes in her garage when she was 10. It was here she caught the attention of Natalie Washington, who would become her only friend. But Riri also happened to catch the attention of MIT, who offered her a scholarship. When she was 13, Riri's stepfather and Natalie were both killed in a drive-by shooting, prompting her to create her own suit of armor in secret. She reverse engineers Tony Stark's Mark 41 armor with parts she takes from campus and creates her own Mark 1 armor. When security comes for her, she takes off with the suit, but damages it almost immediately afterwards when she tries stopping a truck of escaped inmates. Riri's actions catch the attention of Tony Stark, who she ends up joining in his fight against Captain Marvel during the Civil War II event, and after Tony gets knocked into a coma at the end of this fight, Riri decides to continue his legacy as a hero and adopts the name Ironheart, building a new suit of armor more akin to Tony's. She teams up with Rescue, is offered to work in Tony's lab, gets invited back to MIT, is asked to join the Champions, and after being monitored by S.H.I.E.L.D., Riri's talked into invading Latveria and stops Lucia von Bardas, who she in turn defeats and declares herself the new Queen of Latveria, paving the way for the nation's first free elections. She fought alongside the Champions against evil Steve Rogers during the Secret Empire event, and later attempts to take on Thanos single-handedly, which turns out to be a bad idea. With this armor gone, she builds her third armor, which has since become her signature look in the comics. While with the Champions, they have a Dungeons & Dragons style adventure with Man-Thing, and later on, Vision's daughter Vivian develops romantic feelings for Riri, which dampens her relationship with the team for a while since the feeling isn't mutual. She returns to MIT, where she develops an AI that scans her brainwaves and memories and takes the form of her dead friend Natalie. She drops out of MIT and buys her own studio back in Chicago after selling a patent for a tracking device. It's around this time that she begins making her own enemies, most of whom work with the Ten Rings organization and try to convince Riri that she has villainous potential. There was a Spider-Man Z-lister villain, Clash, who wanted to join the Ten Rings, Midnight's Fire, who was dug out of the 90s to turn Chicago kids into criminals and acted as a Ten Rings enforcer, Eclipse, a sorceress that turns people into zombies, and Tomo, a technopath inhuman. Turns out all these guys are after an interdimensional portal called the Wellspring of Power that's located in Wakanda. Riri goes there and meets up with Shuri to stop them and ultimately learns that her father is still alive and leading this Ten Rings group under the codename Dune. After stopping the Ten Rings, Riri later returns to Wakanda to help fight against the invading intergalactic empire. In her most recent outing with the Champions, the team takes on the Roxxon Corporation, who played a part in outlawing young vigilantes. So given all this, there's plenty of opportunities to use Riri's relatively limited source material to tie her into the MCU. At the same time, given said limited source material, this also gives the writers the freedom to be creative. We already know she'll be at MIT in Wakanda Forever, and rumors have indicated that she will have developed a vibranium tracking device, which would be somewhat accurate and could tie into elements from the Doom War comic. Lucia von Bardas has been rumored to appear in Wakanda Forever, which could formally introduce Latveria to the MCU and begin something that could continue into Riri's Disney Plus series. We do know that Roxxon has been around since Phase 1, Man-Thing will possibly debut this year, a young hero team of some sort is coming soon, Pepper Potts is still around, and of course the Ten Ring organization is alive and well under new leadership following the events of Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Sticking with the Darth Vader reveal and making her father secretly alive and working with the Ten Rings would be an interesting way to mirror the twist from the first Iron Man film, but there's really no telling if they'll go that route or make her father someone else entirely. Recent rumors have stated the supernatural villain the Hood will be in the Ironheart series, and while Riri never faced him in the comic, she has gone up against other supernatural enemies to the point of seeking help from Doctor Strange. It's also been rumored that the son of Obadiah Stane, who was played by Jeff Bridges in the first Iron Man, could appear as well. This is all left to be seen, but it's safe to say that Riri is already a fascinating character worthy of being adapted to the big screen. She's already been featured in the animated Marvel Rising series, which is available on Disney Plus, and although aspects of her origin are changed for the younger audience, Riri herself is still true to her comic personality, so it's a nice intro to the character. As for the comics, you can check out her origin in volumes 3 and 4 of Brian Michael Bendis' Invincible Iron Man from 2016, although the follow-up Ironheart series by Eve Ewing has been praised by fans and critics as Riri's best comic. And if you want more, there's also the Champions comic, which also featured Miles Morales and Miss Marvel as well.